an enriching learning experience day on understanding brain development in early childhood. We're just going to wait for another few seconds while all our participants join in. And in the meantime, I would again, for those of you who've just joined in, on the behalf of the team ACRT, I welcome you all and extend a warm good morning to everybody present here today. Good morning, Mr. Nimish.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to take an opportunity to request participants, should they be comfortable, please feel free to keep your videos on. I would love to see you all.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am.
All right, lovely. Okay, I believe it's time for us to begin. May I request everybody to keep themselves on mute, and of course, there'll be a lot of sharing happening today, and then we can unmute ourselves or raise our quiet virtual hands like how we tell our children, or put our responses, inputs, questions on the chat box today. So, dear parents and educators, on behalf of Team ACRT, I extend a warm welcome to all of you on the workshop for nurturing young minds, understanding brain development in early childhood. Now, I'm thrilled to have you all here explore the fascinating world and of early childhood. Most of us here interact with children on a daily basis as parents, as caregivers, as educators, and today at the end of the workshop we aim to understand how the brain in early childhood works and how pivotal is our role in imparting education, fostering love and care, and providing stimulating learning environments to our young minds. All right. I would, at this point, also want to understand our audience today. So anybody who would like to, introduce themselves, talk about why you're here today and what do you seek from our workshop.
Ms. Nidhi, I just take an thank you for the opportunity to discuss. My name is Nimish, and my daughter is Namashri Dikshit. She is in grade 1C.
Okay.
And the topic itself, it says nurturing your minds, young minds, that understanding brain development in the early childhood. So what prompt me to join this session is to understand not just what we think about the child's future and what needs to be done, but as a holistic or a think through the thought process of the child and what they can grasp or what they're capable of, so that we can shape their learning and bring it to their potential in future to come. So that was the idea.
Thank you, sir, for sharing. And yes, like how you said that learning, of course, we all want to do the best for our children, but what is optimal for learning in providing that environment? How does the brain accept that in a certain developmental period is very essential. And we hope to do that today through our workshop. Thank you for sharing. At this point, as Amity family, I would here take an opportunity to thank our vision of our respected founder president, Sir Dr. Ashok Chauhan, sir, and our chairperson, ma'am, Ms. Amita Chauhan, to support our vision, to support and strengthen our learning and understanding by supporting parents in their journey. Also, at this moment, I would take a special mention of a respected chairperson, ma'am, Ms. Sapna Chauhan Batra, ma'am, who has initiated the Parent Partnership Program, which is the central goal of collaborative effort by the team of ACRT and Amion. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Moving forward, I would like to begin today's workshop with a quote by a pioneer in the education field, Maria Montessori. She says, "The most important period of our life is not the age of university studies, but the first one, the period from birth to age of 6. And that's why I feel like this quote resonates with all of us, and that's the reason we're all here today. Early years of child's life is a time of immense growth and transformation. And I know that most of us agree with that. It is understanding the intricacies of brain at this time very important for us as caregivers, parents, and educators alike to see how our role is centered. Let's move forward with the quote today. Also, now I'm going to be sharing a short clip on my screen for all of us to come together and start on a lighter note and enjoy what our children have to say when they think, what do they think of a brain? What is the role of a brain? And how do they perceive from their world?
Nuestro cerebro es para pensar en muchas cosas divertidas y hacerlas. Está aquí. ¿Eres tú? En la cabeza. Brain is for creativity. Helps you remember things. To listen. Not fool around. Para escuchar. The brain is for intelligence. Está conectado a nuestro cuerpo y así es como podemos hacer todo. Store a lot of information from different parts of my life. Para compartir a los zombies.
What is it that will make some of these babies thrive while others won't? Why would some of these children grow to become healthy, happy adults with loving relationships, while others will not? What will make some of these toddlers go on to college and pursue rewarding careers or fulfill their professional aspirations, while others might have to settle for a lot less? Why would a number of these children make their dreams come true, while others might not be as fortunate? Is it a matter of fate, money, intelligence? Is it luck, hard work, genetics? Is it a question of education? In our ongoing quest for understanding who we are and what determines our future, science has revealed a remarkable finding. What happens in the first few years of life before formal schooling begins helps to lay the foundation for future success. What children experience even before they learn how to talk increases their chances of reaching their full potential and might be the key to creating better societies for everyone. And the secret lies in the most unsuspected place, our young brain.
Thank you for watching. All right. So yes, children started with sharing that, brains for creativity. Some said brains for intelligence. Others mentioned that it's to, fight off zombies. And so, yeah, fighting zombies tells me, yeah, if someone, brains can help us problem solve in scary situations. So I think that that's what was implied by the child. So our children also understand the importance of brain and how it is such an important organ, and therefore it is must for all of us to understand the intricacies of brain development. At this time, I'm going to be sharing a Padlet link on the chat with all of you. It mentions a very simple strategy that we can follow as parents and as educators before we march into learning something new. And that's known as a KWED chart. What do I already know? What do I want to know? And at the end of the workshop, we'll fill our columns of what new did we learn today. Parents and educators, I'm going to share that link. If there's any issue in accessing the link, please put your responses on the chat. The link is up on the chat. Once you click on the link, it takes you to a board which looks like that. You can enter your responses from by pressing the button on the right side bottom where there is an addition sign, and that would let you to add your responses. What I already know, 2 things that you want to know, and at the end of the workshop, what did I learn? Please take 2 minutes to fill your responses. Thank you. I hope everybody is able to access the Padlet link.
Miss Vidhi, just to clarify, uh, the with the regards to as a parents to the child, what I know, I have to mention in that, right?
Yes, sir. What you already know about today's workshop as a parent, your prior knowledge about the importance of brain development in early childhood years.
Hmm. Okay. So in this case, I have to fill only one column. That is what I know so far, right? As of now.
So you would be filling the first 2 columns, what
Okay.
I and what do I want to know.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Let's take 1 minute more to quickly wrap up our responses and move forward. Thank you. Okay, there are a lot many responses that I can see on the Padlet very well. So I see most of us know that brain develops during the early years. You do understand how to boost a child's confidence and motivate them, how to provide for conducive environments for brain development, and how to be a role model. That's really important. Very well. So I have a very intelligent participant audience today. That's so great. The responses are amazing. How talents can be nurtured and practiced with children to achieve mastery. That's great. And how each child reacts and acts differently and accepting diversity. All right. Okay, some of us want to understand that if a child is good or talented in a certain area or has a strength, how do we master that? Okay. How to blossom curiosity and inquisitivity. That's a good one. I hope we could do that at the end of the workshop through our team's effort. How to nurture hidden talents. Okay, all right. Moving forward. So yes, today's workshop, we aim to equip you with knowledge and tools to support care for our children, to become lifelong learners and identify our roles as parents and educators, to understand the importance of critical periods and the basis of brain development in young children. Now, this brings me to we are saying that, okay, we know, brain development is important and brain is such a primary organ, but why is it important? Like we said, yes, strong foundation and overall development. Yes, it helps caregivers to foster not just intelligence, but also emotional intelligence, empathy, resilience in children. Why kindness is so important. Also, understanding brain development empowers us as caregivers to, understand strategies that support children and to support children effectively, and creating those learning environments, understanding unique needs of learners in the classroom so that early intervention can be planned for them. And also, not to forget to mention how to build on secure attachments, because our young learners step out of our secure homes for the first time and interact with adults outside, with teachers. And as parents also, we feel that, when we feel that our child is going out there, what's happening? Is he upset? Is he or she coming back happy? After all, the smile is something that matters. Also, we want to, as caregivers, prevent and mitigate any chances for any sort of trauma or stress, because the little things matter the most, and thus providing positive parent-educator partnership, building that trust and communication. and empowering ourselves. And that's why it's so important to know about brain development and how that works in early childhood. Looking at some statistics, I would like to shed light here that 90% of brain development completes by the age of 5, between 5 and 6. And a little bit of neuroscience information here. So neurons, which are basic brain cells, they're all connected, right? And the more the neurons connect with each other, the more the brain cells connect with each other, the more synaptic connections and the more little sparks. So, sometimes when we are sitting in a place or trying to remember something, or there is a learning opportunity that really strikes with us, we say, oh, wow, oh, that's a spark in our head. And that's nothing but just a synaptic connection. And these synaptic connections are very important for your young children. Now, I would like to add on here that a child's brain has the most number of synaptic connection, about 1,000 trillion synaptic connections happening at the age of 3. Right, because we're saying by the age of between the age of 5 and 6, 90% of brain development is established, is completed. So all the synaptic connections or the neuron connections or the brain cells or the little sparks, as we may call it, happen by the age of 3. An adult's brain, as per statistics, has about 1,000 trillion happening, 100 trillion happening, whereas a child has 1,000 trillion synaptic connections. So do you see the importance of us as caregivers, how important it is for us to provide strong synaptic connections, nurtured synaptic connections, and stimulating synaptic connections for our young learners. And going forward in the presentation, you also see where there's a, picture of a brain comparing with the connections that happen, on the internet and how internet connects because, internet's smart and fast, and how a child's synaptic connections. And you'll see that there's a vast difference in terms of numbers when we talk about. Now, of course, we are going to talk about some strategies and our role, of course, but it's it's very interesting to look at the brain, how we did back in school for ourselves. We're all aware that the brain is the master, is the boss, right? And it controls the body functions of sensation, movement, awareness, coordination, language, emotions, feelings, right? And of course, each part of the brain is responsible for a certain function. Now, looking at the image on the next slide, I would like to shed light here that you would see on the right part of the anatomy of the brain that most of the development in terms of understanding, balance and coordination, language, thought, memory, just visual processing of things, all of this are being taken by the right hemisphere, and most of the age bands that I mentioned here, where you can see my cursor at this moment, is happening from birth to 2 years, 6 years, and 8 months, 8 months to 2 years. So most of all of this that we see, and just as repetition is important for our children, it is for us as well, right? It is so clear and so vivid. I would like to zoom in here, that surrounding our children with interesting things to look at, touching them, hugging them, talking to them, helping them feel emotionally safe, physically safe, giving them opportunities for, promoting physical development to enhance balance and coordination, providing them opportunities with concrete thinking, abstract problem solving. Sometimes our children, when, things get vague for them, they tend to leave, or they tend to become anxious, and then, oh my God, I can't do this. Ye mujhse hota hi nahi hai. These things start coming in. But at this point, helping them understand their patterns of learning, ourselves also to understand their patterns of, learning should always be, center stage for us. And, all our cognitive skills of memory, attention, thought, and behavior should always be at our pivotal front. Of course, bringing in that joy for learning, experiencing unconditional love by caregivers and teachers and parents, it's extremely crucial. All right. Okay. Anybody has a question at this point, or anybody would like to add something? Okay. All right. We're now going to look behind the science of early childhood brain development, and then I'm going to ask few experiential questions from all of us present here today.
The first 6 years of a child's life, beginning with the mother's pregnancy, is a time of great promise and rapid development. It's a time when the child's brain is most open to the influence of relationships and experiences. At the same time, significant disturbances in the child's life, such as trauma, neglect, and abuse, can undermine their development and lifelong health. The most important time for a child's brain development is during the mother's pregnancy and the early years. The brain is one of the few organs not fully developed at birth. At birth, a baby's brain can only control the most basic functions, those that keep the heart beating, the lungs taking in air, and the sucking reflex, which allows the baby to feed on the breast or bottle. Over the next 2,000 days, from 0 to 6 years, the child's brain will learn its more complex functions, which include memory, speech and language, comprehension, emotion regulation, planning, and decision-making. By understanding how the brain develops, you'll be able to understand a child, respond more effectively to their needs, and build a foundation for a child's physical, social, emotional, and mental health. Let's learn more about a child's developing brain. The brain starts to form very early in the mother's pregnancy. Babies are learning even before they are born. The child's brain development is affected by both nature and nurture. Nature refers to all genetic and hereditary factors, what the child is born with, their inherited traits and abilities. Nurture refers to all environmental factors, what the child experiences, their environment, the care they receive, and the relationships they have with people and their community. Even though the newborn's brain architecture contains billions of neurons, only a small number of them are connected. The brain of a newborn baby is basically a disorganized bundle of nerves that need to be connected or wired together for the brain to be able to communicate with other parts of their body. A child's everyday experiences and relationships with their parents and caregivers create brain connections. This process is called serve and return. Serve and return refers to the two-way, back-and-forth interactions between a child and a responsive adult. To understand the concept of serve and return, imagine a game of tennis. A child serves when they reach out for interaction, when they smile, babble, or cry. Responsive parents and caregivers can return the serve by smiling back, playing peekaboo, or offering comfort with a hug. The more positive serve and return experiences they have, the stronger the child's brain connections become. The first.
All right, thank you for watching. So yes, so we're talking about brain development, and yes, we've understood the importance, and we've gone over that in the previous slides. But at this point, I would like to talk about two things: the importance of nurture, yeah, and that's why we're all here today. And the second thing, what are the components of nurture when we look at? So in our workshop also today, we're going to look at how to tap onto emotional brain development. We're going to look at the importance of nutrition and sleep and establishing patterns. As educators and parents, it would be important for us to look at the cognitive skills required, in order to boost healthy brain development. And those three components are going to be integral to the idea of nurture. Now, at this point, I would like parents and educators to talk about their experiences with children they interact with, their own children in the classrooms. Would you resonate with the concept of nature more or nurture or equally both? And how have you been successful in nurturing a child, and has been a hurrah moment for you, has been a success story for you? Let's hear participants. You can take a few seconds of thinking time, because I'm sure all of you have many stories to share. So yeah, anybody who would like to go first, please raise your virtual hand, and then we'll be thrilled to hear what you have to say today. Sharing of hurrah moments of how your nurturing was a success story.
Yeah, Ms. Nidhi Nimish here. If yeah, actually this PMT, the parents teacher meeting, PTM, sorry, PTM meeting actually helped me a lot. In a sense that I knew that daughter is little shy, and so I was asking the question that will she's asking a question or attentive to the problems that you normally in the classroom. So she said that yeah, she's little shy, and then we improved on that. I think we no teacher also say that I'll pay more attention to that specific if she's facing this kind of scenario. And when I attended the next um, parents teacher meeting, and then we see a lot of improvements, and that was a feedback of a teacher. So I said there's a little wow. So we took at early stage we could identify based on my nature. Ultimately it's going to be I say DNA to her as well. So I was asking the same question which I face in during the school time. So it was quite relatable too, and then we addressed that. So I was pretty happy I could interact, and I got that feedback and support from the teacher.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing. So yes, collaboration between parents and teachers was the key here of the success story. And of course, as parents, we do know that, okay, I know that my child is going to be good in this particular area and may need a little support from my end. But sometimes, in our busy schedules and life as it goes on a daily basis, we tend to lose out on those things. And it's like we say, we need to sometimes move 2 steps back to see the whole picture. And I think collaboration always works. So that's a good one. Thank you, sir. Anybody else who would like to share from an educator's perspective today, a hurrah moment in your classrooms, how nurture was the key to success?
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so ma'am, I would like to share an incident. There's a child in the class. So we are in pre-nursery. So that particular child, whenever we did painting activities or any art and craft activities, so he did not prefer getting his hands covered with paint or doing hand prints and participate in those activities. So we responded in a constructive manner and rather provided him with other options. We we came down to his level and we said that it's okay if you don't want to do it. let's try crayoning, let's try this tearing and pasting, or if there is anything else that you would like to do instead of painting. So we gave him that much time, and it was unbelievable that not like it's not that just in 1 or 2 days that happened, but now he loves to do it because we gave him that space, and where he felt nurtured, and when he saw everyone doing it and enjoying it, so at that time he started enjoying too. He tried his hands on it, and that was the time that he also started doing it, and now he loves it.
Right, great. Thank you for sharing, Miss Nidhi. Right, so I think the key of this hurrah moment is the power of exploration and also power of, us, being patient as educators and caregivers. That, we do know that the brain is plastic, it is going to adapt and learn new things. I think providing that sense of exploration and that sense of safe zone, and that it's okay, and okay, you may take time, but also encouraging at the same time that you're not missing out on something. I think striking that balance is what also came out from your sharing, so thank you for sharing. Okay, let's move forward. So coming back to a little bit of neuroscience understanding of, we do know that early intervention and early, brain development is crucial. But what makes it crucial? It is because it is the period of, it is labeled as a critical period in the science terminology, and the brain is plastic. The brain is malleable. We did say that there are 1,000 trillion synaptic connections happening, but are they as strong as an adult brain? Maybe not so much. And to make them strong, we're looking at the concept of plasticity, because changes always happen, around us, and how we're able to adapt as adults first, and then providing those flexible moments of learning to our children is very, very important. And this is important in all spheres of development, be it cognitive, emotional, social, and or physical brain development. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, we're going to look at this image where there is a contrast between the internet, the adult's brain, and the child's brain, right? So yeah, we do know maybe those connections are building and they're not as strong, right? Some of them are not as strong. Some of them are still adapting. But when we look at it, is definitely 10 times more the internet, right? We all are so used to, for all our little and the big problems, so used to running up to the internet because, he's the boss of our software systems at the end of the day. But look at that in a child's brain, yeah? 1,000 trillion synaptic connections and those little sparks, and we are responsible to ignite them. Now, not to forget to mention here, like I said, the brain is plastic and malleable. The connections are always evolving, and that in the field of science is also known as something called neuroplasticity. Nothing as the two terms being segregated from. Neuro means your brain. Plasticity means its ability to adapt and form new connections. And now, yes, strengthening connections that exist, from our prior knowledge, from our different learning environments is one goal, but also providing newer connections so that the brain can mold and form new learning spheres is also critical. Let's look at a short video to understand what is neuroplasticity and how is that important for all of us.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childhood. that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-travelled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep travelling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakens. This process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones is neuroplasticity in action. The good news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains. If you have ever changed a bad habit or thought about something differently, you have carved a new pathway in your brain and experienced neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
So a very important message that A, you can rewire your brain, your child's brain, and B, that it is also essential to do that, right? Because yes, new connections are important, but evolving is also important. Unlearning is also important at sometimes. Relearning is important too. Now, you must have observed with your children that, you've taught them a certain thing, or you've seen them interact in a certain manner, and then in a situation, and especially this happens in social situations, when they when you tell them, oh, remember I made you do this, okay, let's come on, do that, and then suddenly they hold back and they go and like no, but I think at a given point you also mentioned something about this, I think I want to do it this way. And then that just leaves you like, okay, I mean, these were two isolated incidences, two isolated experiences that but the child could connect the two and, reform into something new and, leaving you, I would say, surprised. Yeah, also proud. So yes, that is when you see that neuroplasticity in action. So anybody has any, experience where, your jaws kind of dropped and you felt like, okay, I didn't see this coming, and okay, this really makes sense, and I think I'm doing something nice for, this transfer of learning to happen from, an A zone to a B zone, and that also sort of made you feel a sense of pride. I can see some of us, giving that warm smile where I can see that synaptic connection happening and that spark happening that, okay, I know what you're talking about. And I've seen this in action. I've seen neuroplasticity in action. Anybody who would like to share for us today? Okay. Anybody's virtual hands up? All right. Okay, teachers, I'm sure, educators, you are, every day, I'm sure every day one experience something like that, where you are just like, happily surprised to see, that sort of a connection happen in your classroom. Yes, Miss Sonam, thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. So, we were doing yoga with the children outside. So before me telling them ki today we will be doing the bird posture, so one of the child just stood up, ki ma'am, I can show you how we have to do the bird posture. So they just lift up their hand like this and they started doing. So I told them, ki, yes, you are doing a bird posture, but we will do it in a different way. So they remember that the bird has wings. So ma'am would be telling them to make wings out of the hands, and then this will be the posture. But then it was a different way, but they remembered ki aise we can do it. So they have something relatable with the bird wings and hands as a wings.
Right, right. So making connections with the world around, right? Yeah. And memory also, I think, played a very important to be able to retain what you saw in the environment at certain point, or what your teacher taught you in the class when you were learning about birds, and to also put it in action in a yoga class, right? That transfer of skill, I think, is what coming out from your sharing. All right. Thank you for sharing, Miss Sona.
Mom, can I also share one thing?
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, like in the morning, whether usually the children come over, we welcome them with a very warm smile and hug. We follow the routine, they're playing with the blocks. Then we usually start with a circle time. We do our morning prayers, going to weathers days of the week. So one day I missed out one rhyme and the weather song. So immediately, like 2 children, they said, Ma'am, you haven't done that weather song. So I was surprised to see they know the routine, they know the flow, how we go about it, and even you cannot afford to miss even a single thing out of the flow of the day. So I was just surprised how they're learning, how they're retaining, and how their mind are into it. Like, iske baad ye aayega, this will come, this is how we go about it. So it was like, wow, that's good. Children are learning and everything is like they're adapting.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Ms. Shivani. I think it's also again here highlighting the importance of consistency. Yeah. So when you are following routines at home, in your classrooms, as caregivers and parents, the importance of consistency, and repetition also at the end of the day played a pivotal role. But, little things, we do feel sometimes that, okay, it's not this one, maybe today we can skip, and that's okay. Because we have an event, or we have someone coming in our classroom, or there's a new thing that we have to incorporate. But
Maybe I added something new to it, skipping that thing. Right.
Yeah. So I think consistency and structure, our children feed on to that, and providing them with that also gives them a sense of security, a sense of understanding the importance of discipline, yes, and also helps them just to anticipate what they're going to do today, back when they come from school, back at home. Okay, I know that my mom has, or my father has, this schedule created for me, and even if it includes me eating a snack of a particular kind on a Monday versus a Wednesday, how that should be consistently followed, right? So both consistency and setting up expected patterns is another key here. So I can see you having a newspaper here. Would you like to talk about the newspaper? Okay, all right. Thank you. Yes, Miss Neha.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
In our Ambient curriculum, we as, educators have also evolved this year that, we have a new curriculum in our Ambient. So, we are also, rewiring our brain that, we are relearning, we are evolving each day, alongside with our AMIs. So, last month we were, discussing about helpers, what all helpers they want in their garden. So, we talked about gardener, we talked about doctor, vet for the animals. We talked about the teacher as well. So during the music and movement play, we were just singing a rhyme, what is your job? So then, while singing, one of the girls in our class said that, ma'am, we can include soldiers also. They are also helpers, like, they are helping us to, save our country, or, they are, protecting us. So, from their previous knowledge, we are, making that connection with their existing knowledge, whatever we are doing in the class, and, in the same way, validating their views and opinions. So, making them, just like you said, a sense of security, and, giving them that enriching environment that, they are being valued, they are heard, and, their opinions do matter. So, we at Ambient, have that, flexibility, and we strive at imbibing values in them, by, accepting their views and, enhancing their knowledge in the best possible manner. Not only, whatever we are teaching them, but, whatever their learning is, and, incorporating their learning with our curriculum.
Thank you for sharing. I think for me, the key here was the first thing that you
Ma'am, we can't
said.
hear you.
Right, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that sort of came out with your initial when you began was, as adults, we're also rewiring, right? And when we are doing that, and we're processing things at a newer pace, and new content coming our way, and new experiences coming our way, we're adapting, right? And then to see that sort of rewiring happening in a child's brain, and to sort of make that connection and how that you can support is something that lies. And I think what in a very common man understanding today I would want at the end. Of course, we learn some strategies, and we have our own experience bank as parents and as educators. What I want next time when you have an experience with your child, I want you to actually think about that image of the brain should come to your head, to your mind as a visualization, and those sparks that we saw in neuroplasticity, the video, what we saw in the synaptic, the internet brain and the child brain. My aim today is for you to instantly have that visual, that what you're doing with your child, is that happening in their brain or not? So yeah, I hope we're able to achieve that. Okay, moving forward. So, with our experiences here, we were also talking about, relearning and unlearning, and that is something in the neuroscience also called as synaptic pruning, just as the gardeners do, right? When the grass grows, the plants are growing at a faster pace, you need to just chop them off, right? And now this chopping is also has to be very selective, right? We're not saying that the information that was learned earlier was not important or is gone for waste. No, we're not saying that. That was necessary at that time. But now we want the newer synaptic connections to form. And yes, we want to preserve the older connections. When we are pruning them off, we're not putting them in a bin. Okay, we're telling them that that was important at that developmental milestone, and now we move forward, and now we adapt, and now we need to eliminate some unnecessary synapses for a newer developmental milestone. All right. Yes, so we've already spoken about these, why neuroplasticity is important and how rewiring is important for healthy brain development in early childhood. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, now we're looking at the brain development from the components of 4 main domains. We're looking at cognitive, we're looking at socio-emotional, we're looking at the importance of nutrition and sleep, and the 4th one, the importance of play. So marching ahead into tapping on to cognitive skills when we talk about cognition, the documentary that I showed you, which I also will be sharing with all of us today. It's about an hour documentary, it's a phenomenal documentary where children come and talk about their experiences in the classroom, at home, with parents. How do they feel? So all of that it's an hour documentary. I encourage you to watch it, but just taking up some inspiration from that, the documentary and the movie, brain development influence cognitive skills greatly. And it is important in both establishing norms of literacy at home, and in your after school activities, and definitely your school activities. So memory, of course, is huge part of cognitive enhancement, where the child is able to follow multi-step instructions at home, where there are multiple adults around, their siblings, they're going out to play. When I go out to play, what all I need when I step out of the home, do I need to ask the help of an adult to supervise me? When I'm going out for a meal with my parents, these are the things that I like to eat, this is where we went last time. And having those sort of conversations. Oh, you like this and we took this way. Oh, did you see the police man there? And now this road doesn't have it. Oh, today is Independence Day. There are things happening and there's so many, there's so much of security. Talking about what's happening in the environment to build on that memory, to sustain that attention is important for cognitive skills. We're also looking at problem solving, and that being the need of the 21st century, right? Finding solutions that, you never thought of problems in the first place. Yeah. Trial and error, right? So we say that, when we were as adults, we've attempted and we've given so many exams where we have MCQs and then we're just eliminating things, right? And of course, we laugh it off and we say that, okay, it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, it's not, okay, it will be D, right? And that's just the simple strategy we do. But what are we doing? We're understanding the importance of elimination here, right? And why not? Trial and error provides us with the newer formed experiences. So providing our child with that opportunity to tap onto problem solving through trial and error, through elimination, is something that we tend to ignore, because we say that, okay, these are the predominant patterns of, solving a problem. Why don't you follow this? Why don't you follow that? And we have our own set of expectations, and leaving very less window of exploration. I think that's something, a point of reflection for all of us as caregivers for our children. Allow the possibilities of exploration. Now, moving forward, I'm going to be talking about some of the parents' roles and responsibilities in terms of encouraging healthy brain development. And it starts with the first and the foremost being secure attachment. All right, like we said, our young learners are stepping out, in schools for the first time, interacting with adults outside. You are your child's most influential teacher at home. How do you interact with your child? How do you nurture and create that supportive environment? Straps on to the foundation of cognitive development, emotional development, and social development. Now, when we look at, secure attachments, I think there are two ways in which you could do that. In first and foremost, you need to understand, validate emotions, right? Our children are going through so many things, and they're angry with a sibling not sharing a toy, or a sibling getting to eat something that he or she might have finished eating at the first place. So those little problems, you say, okay, come on, be a grown up. Now you're a big brother or a big sister. Come on, it's fine. You can do this XYZ thing. Forget about the A and B. We do that things and we expect them to be adults in those moments, right? But they are children at the end of the day. So validating emotions to build that attachment is very, very crucial, and that leads to healthy brain development. We cannot ignore an emotion striking off from a certain situation. So validating, naming the emotions. Now, yes, okay, you are angry or you are so excited today. Okay, I am validating it, but I'm also simultaneously naming that emotion. Okay, we're now getting into study routine at home. Okay, and I want my child to sit down with me and read for 15 minutes, but he or she is extremely excited because just come back from play date and has lots to share, and there's so many things going around. So how do I provide a safe transition from an activity that was important to an activity that is important as well, right? So validating and identifying and naming are some ways to build that secure attachment with your child in the classroom and at home. Now, also looking at another role here, because what we say and what the scientists also have established here, that language and emotion are the two major domains that are happening at, when we're looking at early childhood, right? Because all the exams and all the literacy, all of that, they're still taking up time. The formal education is still evolving, right? But these are the two domains that you want to, if I'm allowed to say, also prioritize at a certain, you strike a balance. So engaging in effective communication, talking and just talking about emotions, talking about what you see in the environment, talking about what you're eating, talking about how your day was back at work. Yeah, I think those are the ways where children are able to sort of understand and express at the same time. And of course, you're encouraging language in a way. All right. Some of the things I already spoken about, strategies to tap on to building secure, attachment. And, when we talk about brain development, cognition goes hand in hand, right? So, providing opportunities for, including technology in literacy, playing games, reading newspapers with your children, doing things that you would like to do, but you do, and, model them for that. Educational toys, also providing that social balance in terms of cognition, play dates, are all age appropriate activities. And in the further slides, now I'm going to be talking about certain age specific stimulations for play and cognitive stimulation, and that's coming up next. All right. Yes, what you feed is what you feed to your brain at the end of the day, right? So I know most of us would have experiences where you have a fussy eater or a child, who's eating everything that's on the plate, who can be a role model. Yeah, an older sibling, role modeling something for the younger sibling back at home. I think nutritional support, because we do this very naturally. Okay, you should be having a protein, and you should be having this carb, and this is something that comes very naturally to us, right? But are we being mindful in ensuring that those micronutrients are also present, or are we giving in to the routines and structures that are at home for our children, for us as adults, and we're allowing that to happen as part of routine, as part of culture at home, right? I think that sort of a distinction is really important for us as parents at home, as caregivers at home. Are we being mindful, or are we following the cultural norm? Right? Cultural norm in the sense of not us as Indians, but also as expectations at home and routines that have been established for adults and children likewise, routines that have been part of your culture at home from, since ages. So what are we trying to do, and how are we striking that balance to provide that optimal nutritional support in terms of micronutrients here I'm talking about? And you can see the picture in the background. We're talking about iron, zinc, vitamin E, magnesium, phosphorus. Are we being mindful to those nutrients? Yes or no? All right. At this point, anybody would like to share a success story? And today is going to be like hurrah moments where you had, your child who was a fussy eater, and what did you do to ensure that change, that paradigm shift was there, and now your life's never been better? No fussy eaters here? Yes, Miss Shilpa.
So last session we had one child in our class who never wanted to eat anything. And her mother would give her fruits, and she would give her a paronti, but she would start crying right from the gate. And she would say, you please tell ma'am, main khana nahi khaungi. So the mother came and spoke to me. I said, okay, me and my co-teacher, we both of us were like, fine, no problem, just send her. She would come to the
main door of the gate, and from there only she would start off, khana nahi khana, right from the morning. So they are fine. Khana nahi khayenge, hum play karenge. So she would come in, she would do her activities, and whenever it would be mealtime, she would keep looking at me, khana nahi
Yes.
khana. I said, okay, we will not eat, but I just want to see what is there in your tiffin. So I said, oh, wow, and her mother really put in a lot of efforts to the extent that even the peel of the grape, she would take it out and give it to the child. So I was just sitting with her. I said, okay, you will not eat. Let your friends eat, and you sit with me and talk, or you read a storybook or whatever. And she would just sit with the friends on the table. Then it was just a coincidence that she had brought something and her friend had also brought the same thing. And her friend was eating, but she was not. So I said, oh, wow, look, your friend has eaten that and she's got a twinkle in her eye. So then this little girl, she just looked at her friend. She said, yes, ma'am, agar main khaungi to mere eyes mein bhi twinkle aayega. I said, aayega. So she took a bite and then she just came to me with her eyes wide open and she said, can you see a twinkle? I said, yes, I can. Thereon, she started eating. Well, she would eat a little bit, but she started eating. And then
Right.
when she went to KG, after I think 2-3 months, she came, the mother came and requested that the child wanted to meet me. She came and she just stood in front and she said, Shilpa ma'am, I have started eating on my own. I finished my tiffin. Now my eyes are twinkling. I said, very good.
Right. So, thank you. I think again, parent-teacher collaboration here, and that sort of comes off very well as stakeholders of our children. And I think these little stories that the children feed on, yeah, twinkling in the eye. I think for us that as also it's okay, it's a moment, and then but for them, they latch on to those. The little things matter the most, like I said. Now, moving forward here, thank you, Ms. Shilpa, for sharing. Moving forward here, I think I would not fail to mention the importance of how to be a great role model, right? Because we have expectations, but are we following that as well? Are our actions and words complementing each other, right? So some of this, I had these sentence stems because we always okay, be a role model and do this and do this, but how do I be a role model? I don't know how to be a role model. Okay, I can do a certain things, but how do my words complement that? And sometimes stressing on some healthy sentences to say that I'm proud of you to do that. I myself was going through this. Look how far I've come when it came to say eating or solving a problem or doing my homework or doing my office work. I am showing you that you and me are a team. So making that learning, making that environment inclusive for the child and not just his or her responsibility to achieve success. It's a team's effort. It's your effort as a parent, as an educator, with your child as a team. Saying things like, we can learn from each other. I believe in you. These are some fabulous little things that bring the twinkle in the eye. Also, not to forget mentioning here that failures and challenges are part of process. So, sort of building that preparedness with your child. When you face the challenge, I want you to remember, this is what we've already spoken about. We already did this at home. Maybe you're going to face this again at school when you go tomorrow. Things when they're preparing for something, like a competition or an exam or something, preparing for that sort of a challenge that might occur their way when they're outside your safety net, right? We are a team. We did this. But I want you to know I believe in you. But when you face a challenge, remember this, right? I think that not only just builds that attachment, that emotional intelligence, but also the ability to tap onto their fears. All right. Any questions at this moment? Okay. So we're talking about cognitive. Now moving on to the second domain to promote and boost healthy brain development. And that is language and how that supports early literacy. And some of the things that we could do as parents, as caregivers is, yes, read aloud, create a reading schedule, use a lot of expression in your reading. I know sometimes we do feel like, okay, I'm not that animate and I can read what's given there. Okay, maybe I can make some sounds of the animals, or I can talk about, if I'm reading a non-literary piece, I can talk about the important person. I can show some video, I can do that. But your expression, using your intonation to make that process interactive with your child is very important. Also, yes, the text in our books is important, right? But the text that's available in the environment, when I'm traveling with my child, what do I see on the billboards? What do I see on when I'm going there, some posters. When we enter a restaurant, there's a menu. There are things written like a special menu happening. Ask the waiter of for the soup of the day. Yeah, those are all the environmental print around. Yeah, I think while we are traveling, we're going from place to place, mindfully talking about environmental print engages in effective language communication. That a book can do to a certain extent, but when you step out in the world out there, what you perceive, and if you prepared for that or not? Yeah. So being mindful about environmental print, I think, takes a huge importance, apart from, of course, the tech books available, flip books. We have Tumble books, online books, our textbooks in terms of academic literacy given by our schools, but not the least, being a role model, right? So, reading yourself, showing that, okay, I'm doing not only just working on my laptop, I'm also picking up and reading, and I'm also talking about what I'm reading, celebrating those little achievements with your child. It could be very small, it could be very small, but celebrating that, but also not overdoing something that's appropriate. I mean, that's age appropriate. You want to provide positive reinforcement, but you don't want to make it so plastic in the sense that, okay, every little thing is not a hurrah. Yeah, only the appropriate ones are hurrahs, and celebrating them are crucial. Okay, moving to the third domain here, and something that children really love is play, right? But of course, the definition of play is now moving to indoor play. And of course, with the pollution happening in our around us in the last 2 days, we do find ourselves at the victims' end, when we do understand the importance of play. But yes, there are so many things going, and we want our children to go for some classes after school, competitions to participate in. There are things to be prepared, and so many things. And sometimes this, yes, does take a backseat, that, okay, it's fine, maybe tomorrow you can go half an hour more. These things are practical experiences that we do go through as parents back at home. But I would here like to tap on to the importance. Play is the best explorative field, the best teacher to teach problem solving, to teach our children trust, to teach our children team building, to teach independence, to talk about empathy when we, to build on resilience, to build on language. So all those domains of brain development that we are seeing, play is a good teacher. Okay. Yes, again, I'm going to take a moment here to talk about any experiences as parents. You feel, you feel difficult to, sort of take care of this component, that maybe your child's not getting as many healthy opportunities to engage in play, and they're at home. Children are also now preferring to be on their laptops and, do their homework. As parents, what do you feel? Do you feel your child is getting optimal play opportunities? You feel there's a scope of improvement there? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear. Yes, Ms. Shilpa. I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yes.
So my daughter was into a lot into being at home. She was a very indoor person. She would avoid, or she would, refrain from going for outdoor sports. Right from since she was 5 years old, I would try to take her out to the park or try to put her in some sports, but she wanted to be an indoor child. Till one day she herself learned that squash is a game which is an indoor game. It's played inside.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I said, why don't you want to go out and play? She said, I don't want to go into the sun. Then she
Okay.
came up to me herself and she said, I don't mind trying my hands on squash because it's played indoors. I said, fair enough. I took her. She tried. She did a little bit of coaching, but then she said, no, I don't want to play. She's not a person who was into sports. But then and being at home these days, children are a lot on phones and tabs and iPads and everything. So just to avoid her from doing that, I had to really push her that you have to go out and play. It is very important, not just for your physical development but even for your mental development. And that is where it is going to teach you discipline. It is going to teach you a lot of life skills. But she avoided going till one day her school pushed her to participate in a school tournament and she won that tournament. And that is how it boosted her confidence, and thereon she started doing. And now she realized that yes, it is important, because the kind of skills that she has learned from a
Yeah.
sport
Yeah.
is not what she would learn even from. So play is important, like you said. So the more you play, it helps her in problem solving. She comes up with solutions for the problems that she's facing in school or with her friends or whatever. Okay, let me try doing it this way. So there are a lot of tricks that she's learning.
Right. Yeah, I think a horror moment for her as well at this time, when she also realized it herself. I think when it comes from your innate motivation to do something, there's nothing like that, right? So, yes, thank you for sharing. Okay, yes, I'm gonna move forward here. This is a little bit of video on benefits of play, which we already talked about in our discussions, and we will be sharing this soon after the workshop with you. But now moving forward and looking at some of the engaging activities that we can, provide our children with. So, very simple things at infancy when we do peekaboo and sensory play and tummy time. Yeah, those are nothing but playtime activities. With toddlers, of course, your blocks, pretend play, role playing. I think that just builds on language so beautifully, taking on roles and understanding your responsibilities. Play also builds cognition. So, of course, your word games and your puzzles and, just overall, stimulating games, even available on the online space, boost problem solving and overall cognitive development. Then looking at preschoolers, of course, storytelling can also be considered a critical angle here, not just language development, but also, play and building that storytelling can build your empathy and resilience and, just overall emotional expression alongside some art and craft activities which definitely do tap onto creativity and your fine motor skills and your overall, expression of art. With school age children, we can engage in science projects, the STEM technology that's coming in, and just encouraging curiosity and problem solving with experiments that promote strategic thinking and even board games, right? I think I myself have to share my stories. So my parents would really engage us with playing, board games, and sometimes they would get boring, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I want to go out and play, or I want to watch this. But those board games are really the decisions that you make alongside, and just the little problem solving skills that you grab on through board games is phenomenal because it allows for strategic thinking. Of course, with teenagers, something like cooking together, right? I think it could be phenomenal time to bond. And also when you're cooking, of course, there's measurements that you have to do. This much should go, just following multi-step directions. Maybe there's a YouTube video that you are following a certain recipe, also manipulating the recipe. I think that also is something that as a person cooking with your child, you can, okay, maybe we could do this because I like to eat this much and you would like to eat, this level of spiciness. So even manipulating that is, I think, phenomenal. And it's a good time to build that social bond with your child. Of course, strategic games like chess and engaging in, movie dates also is something that you could do with your children who are about 13 years of age. I think critical thinking around books, when you're reading, but what's not said by the author, what's not given by in the text, and the ability to make that connection through your think alouds. I think that is something that they will benefit here at this age and stage. So critical analysis and promoting that as caregivers, as parents, is very, very crucial. And that comes as part of stimulating play for all of us. All right, moving forward to the importance of which we already spoken about, how nutrition and brain goes hand in hand, and how nutrition, each nutrient has its own role to play, and how for us to understand that where we are and where we're heading and what's the gap in between. Are we following the norm that's comfortable and convenient? Or are we following a norm that's optimal for ideal brain development? And that's the question I leave it to you to reflect on and for you to take action further. But it's very imperative for us to understand the nutrition plays a role in mood and emotions. Of course, the day you eat something nice when you're going out, and we say, no, one cheat meal is allowed. When you eat something nice, of course, it affects your mood. And you say, oh, wow, I cooked, I made this, and this tasted so well. Of course, there's a sense of certain, accomplishment, but it also taps on to your emotion and of course, overall mental well-being, and it just makes you happy. There's no stress. I had a really nice, good pizza. For some, it could be I had a very good, a soup, and the winters are, on setting. And this was a recipe I learned with my mom, and it just tasted so amazing, and it was so healthy. I think overall mood regulation, nutrition plays a very, very important role, and so does sleep. Of course, we have children, they've not slept enough. You can find them cranky, and sometimes we're not able to understand what went wrong until that happens consistently over like a couple of days. And I say, oh my God, okay, we had something at home and my child went to sleep half hour later than expected, or than our routine, or 1 hour later. And it's happened 2-3 times for you to actually realize that okay, he's not eating well because he's not slept well, and that's why he's not able to pay attention in the classroom. And sometimes sleep can just be a little thing that it can be missed. So yes, sleep and adequate sleep, I would say here, not only helps us to regulate emotion, but just is it especially if you'll see as adults also, when you're on a time off, when you're on a vacation, okay, and maybe you're not getting up on the sound of the alarm, right? And you have like this sleep bank all accumulated. You're getting your 8 hours, maybe 7, or whatever is optimal in your sleep cycle, 9 hours of sleep, and that's happening for a good chunk of 4 to 5 days. And you'll just see that even on the 6th day, if you've slept less, you're still able to problem solve things, and things are moving at a faster pace, right? So a well-rested brain is the most efficient way in sustaining attention. And we see that as adults when we have that, and when there is a sleep debt, how that affects, right? How is our functioning good at a Monday or a Tuesday versus, it's coming to the weekend and then you've been working around the clock, and how that affects. And if we're not able to get that adequate sleep, imagine that for our children, right? How are they going through? Because for them to even label and identify their emotion is another add-on now that we have to support them. So quality of sleep definitely impacts creativity, and over an extended period of time, it could be harmful. Now, yes, some of the tips that we can engage as caregivers, parents, yes, creating that friendly sleep environment, preparing for bed is another thing. Maybe playing some music, dimming the lights, talking about getting into the bed is now going to happen, okay? Just limiting screen time, and talking about emotions. I don't want my child to be going through certain things when I'm putting him or her to bed. I want all the conflicts being addressed too. All conflicts may not be solved, but yes, definitely addressed. And again here, leading by example. Yeah, there's sometimes you'd say, okay, but you're putting me, but when are you coming to bed? When are you going to sleep? But you are not sleeping. Why are you asking me to sleep? Right? So I think our children are very intuitive like that and very perceptive. They know, they're smart, right? So establishing that bedtime routine, leading by example, is something that we can do as caregivers. All right, that brings us almost towards the end here. We're talking about the last and the fourth component of emotional intelligence and emotional intelligence, and how that is so crucial for healthy brain development, right? And I love this quote by Dalai Lama. I've always had the view about modern education system. We pay attention to brain development, but the development of warm-heartedness we take for granted, right? So we do say, okay, be kind, but how do we teach to be kind? Are we kind ourselves, right? I think that's a reflective question for all of us today to think about. Of course, emotional intelligence is not a one-day process, right? It is, of course, ongoing, and the nurturing is gradual and an important journey to take in. So like we spoke about in the previous slide, just being aware of your child's emotion is where you would ideally start, right? Validating emotions is another part of this step, and using that emotion, even if my child is angry, using that emotion as an opportunity for teaching and connecting, talking about your own experiences. Not all emotions are emotions for, giving a lecture, or just trying to, if the child is being excessively naughty, it's not an opportunity to provide punishment always, right? Or an action consequence. It is also an opportunity for you to connect with your child, right? I think that's very, very crucial. Because we do tend to get into like, okay, he's made this mistake more than 3 times, and we establish that if you do it for 3 times, there's going to be an action. We start rewiring ourselves into that, into that kind of a mode of mechanism to teach a lesson. But let's hold on teaching lessons also sometimes and strike that balance. It's time for you to now connect with your child as well, right? Of course, communicating yourself. How do you feel when he or she acted up in a way, or when he or she did something really nice? How did that made you feel, right? At that point, labeling your emotion is another important step for nurturing that emotional. Of course, setting limits, striking balance, problem solving is very, very important. And that brings me to another slide, and an important one here, which talks about the power of hugs, right? So just sharing a little bit of experience. So when I grew up, and there was this, this emotional time when I was going through something, and it was, I think, after a long time, and I actually hugged one of my parents. All right, and for me, it was. I still remember to be able to talk about it because it was an important one. But for me, it was a moment of unfamiliar zone, right? For me to be able to hug my parent was something that was very unique at an age of, say, 20 and in my early adulthood, right? I think that really teaches me that I wasn't hugging enough, or we were not hugging enough as parent and as a child. And the power of hug is very, very important here. And a very well-renowned psychologist, Virginia Satir, came up with a little formula that we all can incorporate: 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs for maintenance, and 12 hugs a day for optimal growth. So I think, just hugging out sometimes, not saying much, sometimes silence is the best medicine. I think that's another way of, just building that secure attachment with your child, building that sense of bond where he or she is able to come up to share, validate what he or she is feeling, identify, can just come with a simple act of a warm hug. And that leads to filling up our children's emotional cups, right? Now, at this point, yes, I want to fill my child's emotional cup. Yeah, I want to limit off any feelings of rejection, loneliness. I don't want them to feel fearful. I don't want them to feel tired. I want them to, feel that love and affection. I want them to build on to success. I want them to have, that play, and they love what they do, right? But can you fill a cup with an empty cup yourself? Right? If you make a tea and there's nothing in the pan, what are you going to put it in the mug for you to have? Is your cup full? Right? Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And how can you fill your own cup as parents, as caregivers? Reflecting, relaxing, also validating your emotions, being outside and exploring the nature. Of course, giving some opportunities of movement and physical exercise, and just building little connections with people around you in your immediate environment, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Right now, at the top of this infographic on the left-hand corner, where my cursor is, you'll see some of the signs that you would see where you feel your child's emotional cup is getting empty. And it's now for you to pour in, where they're just trying to escape, trying to pinpoint other people's emotions in a negative way, excessive annoyance from little incidences which were not happening earlier, running towards the wall and hiding, or putting their heads in the sofas and not trying to talk. And, sometimes they say, okay, now he'll be okay and he'll come back, And if that keeps happening over and over again, it's the time for you to reflect. Is the cup full, or is it getting empty? All right. Coming closer to the end of workshop today, here are some of the common pitfalls to avoid. We're not wanting our children to live in fear, right? Don't do this and you might get hurt and you might fall down. No, I want you to be safe. I want you to do this, and let's do it in a different manner. So rewiring your words is, I think, something that's really, really important. Yeah. And also providing that consistent routines that we were speaking of. But sometimes children don't want to do that. Okay. And is it a time for saying, no, this is in your timetable and this is how we go about it, and we have an event coming up, and I know you want to go out for play, but this is important too, right? So just talking and bringing about the sentence stems that we were talking about, that we are a team. And if I do this with you, we both can be successful. I think that is a very, very healthy way of standing firm with your rules and routines, right? Also, not engaging a lot with your children about it. If you do this, look what look that the guest has come. What will he or she think about you? We say that very often, right? Okay, you don't want her to feel bad. You don't want her to feel disrespected. Come on, let's sing a rhyme or let's recite a rhyme. Okay, don't behave this way. What will aunt think about you? I think. That is something that we would like to do. And instead, talking up about, oh, okay, you did this. Okay, look at, let me do this with you. Okay, can we do it in a better way? Okay, if the child has spilled the blocks all over while everybody was having tea, for instance, right? Okay, you wanted to play. Okay, let me take this away from, and maybe we can do this in your room later when everyone's away, right? I think that is something that you would like to do instead. Of course, not ignoring your own needs. Yeah. And sometimes the children say, okay, you're always busy and I wanted to do this on a Sunday and I wanted to do this. And I'm busy, I have work. You don't know this so much, look, my boss is going to say this, or, we get into that thing, but leading with love and focusing on your own personal and family goal at that time and prioritizing your own mental health. I know I'm busy, but you're as important, and I'm going to be back in talking about this in a day. I'm going to come back to this. I think just even striking that understanding sometimes you have to make your children as adults. You should treat them as adults also. I think that's something that we could also engage in. But of course, mistakes go hand in hand with the process of learning, right? And we do better when we know better. Of course, experiences do teach us that. At the end of this workshop today, there are also 2 slides here which have a little bit of additional resources for us to engage in, some parent resources and educator resources to engage in literacy building, which will be shared with you soon after the workshop. And moving forward, the second slide also talks about some of the books that you can engage as parents, as caregivers. It talks about how emotional well-being is important and how reading aloud can do wonders for your children, how communication strategies improve parent-child relationships, some of the recommendations by us, alongside a very beautiful documentary that we started our today's session on. It's an hour documentary. It's available on YouTube. Please do watch it. That brings me to the end of today's workshop in tapping on understanding how brain development plays an important role in building critical periods, the concept of neuroplasticity, and how brain development can be supported through the 4 domains we spoke about: play, emotional intelligence, cognitive development, and the importance of nutrition and sleep in building consistent patterns for our children. Thank you so much for joining in and, giving us your success stories. It's always good to hear from participants. At this time, I would also leave the podium open for questions that you may have. Anybody who would like to ask a question, anybody who would like to comment, who would like to add on, please feel free to do so now.
Yeah, Ms. Priti, this is Nimish here.
Yes.
See, likewise, there are 8 to 9 aspects for a holistic development of the child, particularly with the brain, whether it is emotional, behavior, and like that. So, is there any the kind of chart where we can follow on a periodic way to to track that, like, no, we are not missing out any of the aspects, because sometimes what happens is we give some emphasis on one area and we miss out on certain things, and then we, so there is no balanced way of like, progression. So if kind of that kind of a chart or something tracking, if you have or you come across, and you're sharing that link, would be good
Yeah.
enough to, yeah.
Right. So I think that's a very handy strategy that you spoke about. I think you're talking about checklists here in developmentally appropriate milestones that could fit into a checklist. And yes, there are multiple websites that offer us with those checklists. We can build our own checklist as well. And I would be happy to share one with you. But please feel, please understand here that all those milestones are also very situation specific, right? And we do want to understand the importance of adapting and, all of that. Yes, we don't want the gap to be large, and that's our goal. And that's why I believe you have asked this question today. And I will be sharing a checklist with you.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So participants, reminding you again, at the beginning of the workshop, we filled our KWL charts. And now it's a good time to take a minute to quickly fill in the last column, the L, what did you learn? So I'm going to share the Padlet link once again on the chat for those of you who may have missed out. We're now filling up the last column, our learning at the end of the workshop. So some of the, I would say, not really questions, but some of the things that you wanted to know at the beginning here, how to nurture hidden talents, how to blossom curiosity. And I think across the workshop, we understood the importance of role modeling. Yeah, being enthusiastic yourself, of course, creating a time for the learners, students to sort of stop, pause, and reflect. All right. And also allowing that unstructured discussion room for unstructured discussions, uh, because not every question they ask is going to be something that you expected, right? Asking your questions yourself, right? Why does this happen? Why do you think, I think that is a phenomenal way of role modeling. So asking the little questions, you know, um, uh, also sort of embracing and taking that time out and telling that, okay, every question that you have in your head is also important, and encouraging them to ask as many questions is a way to build on the curiosity. Okay, some important things coming up in the last column. It's, I think most of you understood the importance of hug and emotional cups, and the stems that we spoke about. We are a team and we could learn together, and I believe in you. Saying things like, when you face the challenge tomorrow, when you go back to school, this is what's going to happen. So preparing for, anticipatory things, I think, serve in return. Okay, phenomenal. All right, audience, great job. All right. You will be receiving the resources at the end of the workshop on your registered emails. So watch out for your inbox. Thank you for joining in today. Please feel free to continue writing in your learning columns. If there's anything at this moment that you would like to ask, you may do so.
Ms. Riddhi, you are sharing the checklist later or in the same
Yes.
discussion?
No, I will be sharing with you soon on your email.
Okay.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much for joining in and your valuable time today. And like I said at the beginning, now when we go back interacting with our children, I want all of us to have that little moment of that brain visual, which talked about rewiring and talked about the 100,000 trillion synaptic connections. I want you to have that image the next time you engage with your child at home, at school. Thank you so much, and everybody have a good weekend.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rithi ma'am, can I end the session now? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Yes, sir, you may.